In a moment I'll be introducing my students. We've got Lewis, Ramin, Lucas and Connor. They really are a credit to the school, and one thing I found is I started the digital leader group because I thought it'd be a nice idea, and they have gone beyond my expectations, so they're a great credit to the school. So we had a VLE, we've had several VLEs at our school, virtual learning environments, and they got some interest from a few teachers, but generally it was about 4 teachers using them a lot and the rest of the teachers bypassing them or ignoring them. So we had a long discussion about where we go next, and I was able to convince the school that going to Google Apps for Education would be the right way to try and get more out of technology for learning.
Thank you.
To help with that, I knew that the students were passionate about their learning and also passionate about the way technology could support that. So by creating a digital leader team, that's been really useful. And I tell you what, if you do staff training and you put a student next to the teacher, they're so well behaved, it's quite amazing. So that's been a big bonus too. So that's been our drive. We started before Google Classroom, and since then Google Classroom has been released, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a moment to show how that's been used.
I thought so.
I'm now going to pass you over to Lewis and Ramin. A few weeks ago I told Lewis and Ramin that they were going to be speaking here and to staff on Tuesday. That's what I told them. They then came back to me and said, well, we've gone round and we've spoken to every faculty in the school and we've got feedback from the teachers. So I was quite astonished by that, and they're going to come up and speak about the feedback they've got from teachers about technology and using Google. So over to you, Lewis and Ramin.
Hello, I'm Lewis and this is Ramin. Now, Google is a world of its own. The word Google, even if it isn't capitalised, is now a verb, believe it or not, in the Oxford English Dictionary. And we are part of the digital leader team at Glyn, as you've heard. We have a structure in place to ensure that every staff and every student in our school has the ability and capability to use Google tools effectively.
Digital leaders, it's fair to say that there have been many changes within the school, and many changes in technology especially. So after the past years, ever since it was introduced, this sort of technology has been welcomed by both staff and by students. There's been massive improvements in the environment for the teachers and for the students to learn it. So what do the students really think? As it has enabled me to add a whole new dimension to the way I learn in school. It means my documents and my work are all in one place, making my homework and my schoolwork easily accessible to me, and to also allow my teachers to give feedback easily and quickly. It allows me to have quick and easy access from any internet-enabled device.
Now, these are all quotes from students of Glyn School, and we really feel that this is the strongest message that you can give, because these are students who are very passionate about using technology, and they really truly want their teachers to be able to use this sort of thing. And you can truly see that the passion and how these students in particular feel that their learning environment and their teaching and their learning can be improved with the use of Google tools.
So, as Mr. Rouse mentioned earlier, we set out a feedback and a survey in order to see how each faculty member thinks of Google Drive and Google Tools, but also how they use it in order to get a grasp upon what we, as digital leaders, need to do for the staff. So, the results that we achieved were very, very interesting. We found that Google Tools were widely accepted by teachers, however, there wasn't necessarily a wide uptaking of Google Drive and Google Tools, and we wanted to know why. We found out that the number one reason for this was the time it takes for teachers and to share, to create classrooms, etc. Despite drop-in sessions and courses being created for teachers, where they could learn how to operate the Google products and the Google tools, many teachers found it difficult to facilitate the time to go into these sessions and to make these sort of commitments. So the digital lead team came up with a very interesting idea to overcome this issue, and it's quite a simple one. We create videos for the teachers to learn in their own spare time to see how they can use these tools and how they can adapt it to the learning environment. These tutorials seem to overcome a lot of the issues that they had with the Google tools and Google Drive.
Now, Now, we came up with this idea because of the issue we faced, and we found that the issue wasn't necessarily to do with anything technical. There was bypassing the barrier between paper and pen and digital technology. And we felt that teachers had a massive enthusiasm for it, but didn't have necessarily as much time to enforce these fantastic tools that Google is offering us. And so this is still a work in progress. As you can see, there are a couple of faculties that really take on board individual and specific Google tools. Google Classroom, that you'll hear about in a minute, has been well accepted by the majority of staff. And the meaning of learning in the classroom is to learn. And we strongly believe that using Google tools, Google Classroom, will enable every single student to have the best opportunity in their classroom. So thank you. I will pass on to our fellow digital leaders, Connor and Lucas, to tell you more about Google Classroom. Thank you.
Hi there, so my name's Lucas and this is Connor, and today we're here to talk about the latest innovation in Google Apps for Education, Google Classroom.
As you already know, Google Classroom is an excellent tool to use for homework and for classwork, and it's really easy to use and understand. Also, Google Classroom is a simple way to hand in homework, and it's easier to teach the younger students if they're interested.
As you can see, it allows for students to check and complete their assignments remotely. It allows them to see their classwork in an organised way as well.
And for teachers to create and save assignments without paper or set essays on a digital platform. Students can also check their assignments in just a click of a button, set it up with ease and use it with ease as well. And it also saves a lot of time.
Also, Google Classroom can help enhance children's learning. Because of the class feed, they can comment and they can ask questions, or in the assignment section they can send a private comment to their teachers so they can work together to try and build better education. Also, teachers get it for absolutely nothing if they've got Google Apps for Education, and you can also get the app which has just been released for Android and iOS, which we're going to go into a bit more detail about now.
The new Google Classroom app allows you to check your assignments and more on the go. We have created a few demonstrational videos that we're about to show you.
So Lewis and Ramin mentioned earlier that students are creating videos, and this is just an example of one of those. And this is Lucas's handiwork.
Hello there, my name's Lucas Johnston. Past Lucas anyway. And today I'm going to be showing you how to use the Google Classroom mobile app as part of Glyn School's Google Apps for Education presentation at Bett 2015. To start off with, we're going to navigate to the Google Play Store. And in the search bar, we're going to search for Classroom. The first result here is Google Classroom, and that's the one we want to press on.
We'll be putting that out so you can watch the whole of it if you want to, but I think it just gives you an example of the type of content the students are keen to create. I'll pass back over to you.
And now we're going to take a look at what other students from Glyn thought of Google Apps for Education and Google Classrooms in some interviews we conducted a couple of weeks ago.
So Thomas, how do you think Google Apps for Education has impacted our school?
Google Classroom has been useful in terms of homework because it allows homework to be handed in successfully and more reliable, removing the excuses of my dog ate it or I forgot it.
Yeah. And how do you think items like Google Drive, Google Sheets and all these sorts of things have helped our school and helped your school life?
It's removed the localization of the schoolwork, so instead of just on the school computers, it allows you to do more work at home and easier, and also allows me to use my Chromebook, which I love.
Okay. And would you recommend Google Apps for Education to people? And if so, why?
I would recommend it to any school because it's A, free and easy to use.
Okay, thank you very much. So Luke, how do you think Google Apps for Education has helped you?
Google Apps for Education helped me because I find that I can keep all my work, so all my homework and schoolwork, regardless, in one place, so I can easily access it from home without having to do all the faffing about going on the remote desktop and things like that.
And what do you think about Google Classroom?
I love the idea of Google Classroom because it's sort of taking Google Drive to the next level and allowing you to have different classes and so you can communicate with your classes, communicate with teachers and students in the class. And it's just a more efficient way of running your homework on Google Drive.
Okay, thank you, Luke. Hi there. So how do you think Google Apps for Education has helped you?
Well, I like Google Apps because you can, teachers can share work with you, and everything is on one thing, so it saves paper and the environment, which is also fun. And I like the fact that you can work together with other people.
Okay. And how do you think Google Classroom has helped you?
Well, again, I like working with my friends on different projects. And, you can make different things like the news chart, which you can make flowcharts with, and it's helped me plan out everything.
So thanks very much for watching. We hope you learned something from our part of the presentation, and we hope you have fun down here in the Bett conference. I'm going to pass you over back to Mr. Rouse. Thanks.
I don't know how I follow them. So they've talked a bit about going Google, and they're enthusiastic about it as a student population. There's still a lot of work to do. There are students that are nervous about the change, there are teachers that are nervous about the change, and one of the things that, thanks to Lewis and Ramin using their initiative to go and speak to teachers, it's time and simple video tutorials that is needed to help move things forward so that the students can get the kind of technology that they want for their learning. I haven't told them about this, but I just thought it'd be nice if we're talking about Google Classroom to see it in action. So I enrolled them all in a classroom in order to talk about our day at Bett today, and I'm going to set them an assignment. So this is always the nervous bit as you try to do this, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm just going to log into our school Google Apps account through our sort of splash page. I'll go into Google Classroom, I'll find our class, and I'm going to set them an assignment. This is exciting news, isn't it? Right, so this is our way into the tools. I'll just open up Google Classroom. See if I regret doing a live demo. Right, so we're just in now. As we let things come together. I've got quite a number of classes in there. One thing, just before I set them their assignment, there's fairly traditional ones. So I've got some Year 11 classes, some Year 9 classes. That's me as the teacher with my students in the class. If I just draw your attention to this one. I'm a student in this class, and it was created by one of my students. He wants to show other people how to learn to code with Python. So he created Google Classroom, and we're going to be giving the code that you can use to join the classroom out to any student that wants to join. There's been a lot of interest from some of the younger students. So actually, he's a student who's going to be teaching other students, and I think that's pretty amazing way for him to take advantage of the tool. And then this one for Year 12 there, that's not a traditional class. That's students who are underperforming, and we've gathered them together in a classroom and we give them specific assignments to improve their overall level in maths. But here we are. Here's my class with these fine young gentlemen in it. So I shared the presentation with them earlier, and what I'm going to do now is set them their assignments. So it's very good that I'm bringing them to Bett, but I want to get something out of it, and the school needs to get something out of it. So they need to do their Bett review. And I've got a document that I created earlier. For any UK citizens who've watched Blue Peter, you'll know that reference. And there we go. So that's a document I created with a few instructions and things in, and I can set that for them, and I can make sure that it makes a copy for all of them with their name on the end. And if I wanted to put a video in, I could. Okay, so that's the basics. Gentlemen, it will be due on Friday next week. and I'd like that to be, midnight on Friday next week is when it's due. You don't need to make a note of that because it's in your Google Classroom. All right, there we go. Homework right in front of your eyes. So that's the simplicity of the tool, and has allowed me, for example, I'm missing 2 classes today, my year 11s and my year 9s. They have work set on Classroom that they'll be doing today. So it's made setting cover quite a simple and straightforward process as well. Let me just switch back to our presentation. Okay, so as I start to wrap up, you can tell that we're quite enthusiastic about Google Classroom. The challenge for us is making sure that all of the teachers at our school understand why we're so excited about it. And that's the bigger challenge, and it involves time, and it involves these guys, and they are the drivers of change. If I did it all by myself, it would be me and a few other teachers using the tools. They have been amazing, and I'm really, really fortunate to be able to work with them. I've just got a few extra slides, so I think if you get your passes scanned, you'll get the presentation sent to you later on. But these are a few of the things that I've found good about it. There's a cover lesson for today. And one of the extra things, the ability for students to comment on assignments means that my students are helping each other with their homework. They're not handing it in half done. They're asking, does anyone know how to do question 9? And they're getting answers from their colleagues. There's also the fact that they're sort of having a conversation about the work throughout the process of doing it. And if you're interested in developing the flipped classroom, it provides a nice easy way in of providing videos for homework which you can then develop in class as well. So there's a lot of functionality to it, and already the students are starting to use it in a few different ways. In terms of tips, those will take you to a few forums. If you can get on to Google+, there's a great Google Classroom community where lots of people post their questions about, I tried doing this, does anyone know how to? And the Google community is quite astonishing at how quickly they will respond, particularly Ziggy. So I think that in terms of tips, try it out. Give it a go, what's the worst that could happen? And let your students be teachers on it too. That's all we're here for today. But thank you very much for your time, and if you've got any questions, we'd be more than happy to try and answer them.